Good morning, everybody. Let me bring up the timer. There we go. And welcome. You have stumbled across Tea Rights. This is our morning stream. I would say it's Saturday morning, but yesterday I have to admit that I was out doing things. And by things, I mean getting some help with some stuff in the apartment and then treating the person who helped me to brunch. But, welcome. That doesn't matter. It was a lot of fun, and I have gotten quite close to the ending of the novel that I've written. So, my name is Jax Devora. I am a fantasy author slash writer, really, working on a potential debut. Who knows? It's in need of revisions, but it is getting there, and we are going to be working on the ending of that today. In fact, during this stream, I am just 3 scenes away from finishing. That is 3 very short things. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we really get started, let me actually refresh the chat, because something is kind of going on weird with that chat thing. Let me see, where is the... This will be just a moment. I do apologize if you have joined us. I cannot see the chat. For some reason, OBS did not refresh that. Where is that? Docs. Chat. There we go. Now it has been refreshed, and I should be able to see your stuff. In any case, how this works is, if you are in Blue Sky, there should be a little link above the cute picture of the bee, and below a whole bunch of text. Click the link and you'll be able to join our open chat. In the open chat, you can say basically whatever you like, so long as it's not creepy and so long as you don't violate YouTube's TOS. I will read that stuff out loud and respond to it. There is an icebreaker, which is a writing question usually, to help you get into the groove of chatting with us. Today's icebreaker is going to be super chill. It's just wreck a book in your chosen genres. That's going to be complicated for me because I do not read westerns, and I do not particularly like a lot of fantasy. It's kind of ironic, but I write fantasy because I enjoy high concept stuff, but the problem is I go to read fantasy, and maybe it's just like the recent trad pub stuff, but okay, that is a lie. I do like a little bit of indie cozy fantasy. One of my favorite reads that I've read recently is a book called Sweet and Wild. I do believe that hopefully that is not the spicy version. I have been so bad with titles recently. Right, it is by Alex Larkspur, and is super cute. It's a book in which a young hedge witch tries to establish a life after a pretty dark tragedy after a pretty dark tragedy had happened to him. He uproots and he goes to a different town to start a new life. But in the process, he meets, befriends, and falls in love with the local forest spirit. And it is very cute. It is very warm. It is extremely loving and sweet. And it's also kind of tragic, because it's like, in a way, it's also about recovering from an abusive relationship. There's a lot of metaphor concerning that, so I highly recommend that. I have a lot of other fantasies on my TBR. I'm trying to get into the genre, but a lot of trad pub fantasy has actually desperately disappointed me. Like, I read Dragonfall as part of my comp title research for another book that I've been writing, and I would not recommend that book at all. Like, it was so The pacing was so weird. It went into directions that I felt like it did that I felt didn't need to happen. It rambled, wandered. There was, in my opinion, no real chemistry between the two leads. One of the two leads, the non-binary one, unfortunately, because I am myself non-binary and would love to see more representation, the non-binary one was fucking insufferable. Uh, and I could go on, but I hated that book so much. I gave it 3 stars anyway because at least I could read it. I have also read, not, I'd hate to say it, but I've also read indie fantasy that was nigh unreadable. Um, it's a genre that I'm trying to fall back in love with because I did grow up reading a lot of fantasy, not like Lord of the Rings or anything like that, but unfortunately, a lot of authors who have since been kind of, let's just say, not great. They don't have great reputations. I, uh, let's just say a lot of them were by Sandman Dude. I had a Sandman Dude phase. But yeah, it's like, so, like, I didn't necessarily read the classics other than Discworld. I do have some taste, but, yeah, it's been rough, and it's been rough coming back too. I'm admittedly more of a horror reader. Uh, like Grady Hendrix is my absolute favorite author right now. Um, but you know, I can't write horror for some reason, or I haven't really come up with too many horror concepts. So it's fantasy. It is basically. So I need to get back into fantasy for sure. And I have never actually read Western before. I love Western movies, um, especially like the old style spaghetti westerns. Like there's a lot of them are just so masterfully filmed. Like there's so much tension in a scene that has barely any words, and it's just beautiful. Like you should, if you have the patience or you like movies that older style movies that focus a lot on cinematography and bringing out meaning without actually spelling things out for you, I would highly recommend things like The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, which is an absolute classic in the Western genre. How the West Was Won. Uh, things like if you've heard, like, that is the thing about Westerns. If you've heard of it, it was actually a really good movie. So go ahead and check it out. Even like in the more recent eras, like Dancing with Wolves is also pretty good. Like, I think there might have been a little bit of controversy regarding it. Like, I don't know. Let me actually look into that before I really actually. It's been ages since I've seen that movie too. But one quick second. Anyway, yeah. Dances with Wolves is a little bit tricky because it does have a lot of Native American imagery, but words out about whether or not it's good representation. It definitely has a little bit of white savior stuff in it, but otherwise, the plot is pretty okay. I saw it when I was a kid, so actually, you know what? I'm going to scratch that one. Definitely go back and watch The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, for example. It also has, the genre also has a lot of really good camp in it. Say what you want about Wild Wild West. I love that movie. Also, the 90s Zorro films. There's just so much variety in that genre, and the vibes there are pretty unique and pretty fun. So I highly recommend at least Western films, but I do have to get into actual Western novels. It is not a well-traveled genre, let's just say. I don't really hear too many people talking about Rex in that genre, so it's like I guess I have to blaze the trail myself. But anyway, that was the entire thing about the icebreaker. I should get into the rest of the spiel. Basically, in just a few minutes, I didn't add a specific time. Usually, I word spew for about half an hour to let people trickle in. But today, it's like I announced a stream 30 minutes before it happened. And it's a Sunday morning, so I highly doubt that I'm actually going to be waiting for anybody. And honestly, I'm very eager to get into writing, finish this book, and then go and do other stuff. Like, I have an entire list. So we might actually start as soon as I'm done explaining things. But we are going to be starting the first of our word sprints. So what's a word sprint, you might ask? Now, traditionally, a word sprint is a period of time in which you sit down and you write as many words as possible. Now, I say traditional because we play it a little bit faster and looser here. There is only one concrete thing, and you will notice at the top of your screen on the top left-hand corner, you will see a bunch of timers. Those are the timers for our sprints. So our sprints are going to be 20 minutes. Traditionally, they can be however long you want. During those 20 minutes, I don't really care what you do. You can write. I will be writing. You can edit. You can translate. You can plan. You can do something unrelated to writing. You can draw. You can play video games. You can meditate. You can eat. You can do laundry. I've had people do all kinds of things. The only rule that I have for word sprints is that during those 20 minutes, you need to do something that enriches your life in some way. Sleeping does enrich your life in some way. Sleep hygiene is extremely important, guys. So whatever you do, just do it consistently for 20 minutes. And then at the end of those 20 minutes, we will stop, talk about our progress, and then take a 15-minute break. Those 15-minute breaks are non-negotiable. So I will be talking during those 15 minutes about whatever I feel like. You will be taking a break, whether that's getting up and using the restroom, filling up on whatever drink that you have at hand. I'm rambling. I do apologize. Words are already hard. Lying down somewhere and closing your eyes. Just whatever you feel like doing, take a break. Then at the end of the break, we will start in on the next 20 minutes. And we will go, technically, usually we go for 3 sprints. Sometimes our T-Writes go for 4 sprints. Today's session of T-Writes is going to go for however long it takes for me to finish this book. So we're going to have fun today. It is going to be great. I am going to ride myself hard and finish this up. That having been said, it is 10 o'clock, and that is a nice round number. And there is nobody in chat right now, so we're going to actually get started. So, if you are in chat, say hi. Tell us what you're working on, what your work in progress is. Maybe answer the icebreaker. But in the meantime, I want for all of you who are ready to word sprint, get to your documents, open it up, have it in front of you. Now we're going to do a little bit of warm up. Back straight in the chair. Posture is important. Then shake out your hands. Wiggle your fingers. Crack your knuckles if you feel like it. Now take a deep breath in through your nose. And breathe out through your mouth. One more time through your nose. And out through your mouth. Okay, 20 minutes are on the clock. Get ready, get set, here we go. that was the first sprint. How did we do? I did terribly because I wasn't sure how to handle this scene. But that is still 466 words, which honestly actually is a very shocking thing. I didn't think that I had done that much. But I'm right now working on a scene that's supposed to be very short. It's just one of the main characters that Hayaseko hired has decided to stay behind with the Zizun as the little protector. And that's supposed to be this scene. Then the next scene is going to be the departure, the Aces High, the adventurers that Honeysuckle had hired, along with another character, which I will not reveal because spoilers yet. And then the last scene is the epilogue. So hopefully it's going to be pretty short-ish. This one is not going to be too super long. I do have to pull up one other document. Just 1 second. Okay. So, that is that. We are just 2 scenes and a half away from finishing. It's so far kind of a rocky thing. I actually had written a few paragraphs that I already have put into the draft. I was like, hey, I kind of want to cut this. This doesn't really help. But, in any case, hold on 1 second. I do like ellipsis, but it's also kind of annoying right now. Like, I have no idea why it does this whenever you don't have the full screen effect on. But let me just cut this bit out. Cryptic says, hello, I say hello back. Welcome. You have come just in time. We've just finished up the first sprint and we will be launching into the second. I am just fixing up the draft that I'm working on right now. Again, as I've kept saying since like week 2, is this draft good? No. But it exists, and that is the main thing. That is honestly, this more than ever, I have felt that the old adage that it doesn't matter what you do during the draft, you just have to. What matters is it exists. I am really feeling that. I'm also kind of like in general feeling. I had to turn on the air conditioner. It is getting a little bit spicy in here. But just one other moment too. Anyway, I know this is a little bit rambling. I'm going to be very open with y'all. I had, I think, maybe 5 hours of sleep for some change. And it's really my fault, to be honest with you. It feels like I'm trying to do a lot during this weekend, just because I don't get too much time during the week. Work-life balance is ridiculous right now. Unfortunately, that is what it is. It's a thing, and what can I say? This is not a stream where I complain about work, but it feels like I don't get too much time to myself, so I cram everything into the weekend. But anyway, I'm going to try and make it through the verbal part of this, I promise. Anyway, I've been learning a lot more about craft stuff during this draft. So, or during this project in general. Like, I read Save the Cat just before actually doing this. I outlined it. Did I consult the outline at any point during this process? Not really. but even then, like, the outline was very vague. So, like, I could remember the beats. I could remember generally what I wanted to do, but I didn't do what I did for TNS or any other novel, which is literally outline basically to the second what I wanted to have happen and then throw it out constantly. So it feels like I'm actually keeping up with the outline without actually consulting it, which is a lot better. But the problem is, this turned into a bit of discovery draft because I went into this with just kind of sort of a shade of a plan, and consequently, I didn't really figure a lot of stuff out beforehand. And as I was going through, I was like, yes, I need to do this in order for this to make sense. And hilariously, what that came out with is the fact that I do like the ending beats. I don't like some of the chapters that it involved, like the ending beats. Like the second to no, it's not the second to last chapter, but a few chapters before this point was the major battle wherein the Zizun take over the town, or swarm the town, and begin to free the San Valentinans, the other people who lived in this city, from the control of Doc McQueen, the villain. And they team up and begin to fight back. But it's just like paragraphs upon paragraphs of very loosely described action. So it's sort of like, oh yeah, and then they flash out their mandibles, and there's stingers, and there's magic and stuff like that. There's nothing really specific, except for like that one bit that I shared of the Zizun attacking Sandworm. That is the most concrete piece of description in the entire thing. So like that chapter will actually need to be rewritten. I don't know how much, because again, I do not like writing massive battles. There's a lot of confusion and a lot going on. It is very much visually a thing that is better suited to a more visual medium. But I still keep on fucking doing it because I don't know. I guess I grew up on visual media, and therefore, like movies and TV shows and video games. So I keep on trying to translate those beats into text, and that doesn't work. But hey, in any case, that will have to be rewritten. But everything else is actually something that I kind of enjoy. Like, I enjoyed all the moments where there's a chapter in which Honeysuckle goes and confronts Doc McQueen in his quote-unquote lair, aka the mansion that he built for himself. And Doc McQueen basically is like, I actually just let you walk in because I'm very curious as to why you're doing this. Because, again, Doc McQueen's like, well, he knows that slavery is wrong, obviously. And also, he knows that he's exploiting an entire swarm of bee people in order to gain his wealth. But he also is like, I don't really give a shit. Like, he's like, well, if it helps, I'm a capitalist. So he firmly believes that, it's just kind of the nature of the beast. Like, you have to exploit other people in order to get ahead. That's how the game works. Does that make him a cartoon villain? Maybe a little bit. But it's just like, he's a rich dude. And it's just the way the world works according to him. It's not like, he doesn't think that he's morally right. He just thinks that he doesn't really think about morals at all. It is what it is. He's kind of interesting, and he has an interesting conversation with Honeysuckle because he's trying not to be a bad guy, despite everything. He's like, well, I don't actually want to hurt you or anything like that, but this is kind of inconvenient that you're kind of having an uprising. Like, I'm just over here doing my own business. What are you doing? And he tries to talk her out of stepping or talk her into standing down, and she's over here like literally just violently trying to attack him. So that one's fun. Then there's the chapter after where it's a proper confrontation in the town square and the actual final showdown. And that was actually really fun to write. That was what I did yesterday. And even that one, where it's like the ace is high, three of them out of four versus one. And I actually enjoyed that because that's not like 300 different characters versus like 150 different characters. It was just like three against one, and everybody had a turn. Everybody's like had something interesting to do. So that felt solid. And honestly, there was no part of that chapter that I'm like, hey, you know what? I don't know how I feel about this. There are notes in that chapter that are like, yeah, in order to make this work, we're going to have to go back and explain this. So there are notes where I'm like, okay, there are missing chapters that I have to go back and write. And the beginning half of the book kind of needs that attention, but also it's fine, in part because we're only 42,000 words right now. So I want to extend the book, I want to make it grow a little bit more. But the basic storyline is there. And did I or have I felt like learning how or reading a craft book has improved anything? And the answer is kind of, sort of. It does make me think a little bit more. Like, I do still feel like Honeysuckle's character needs a little bit more development, and going through and doing the Save a Cat character profile with her didn't really help. But I wasn't really super duper serious about it. So I'm going to sit down, and one of the things I'm going to do is try to figure out what her character is, how she acts, and so on and so forth. And I think one of the things that's going to help me is something that I discovered while writing this draft, and that is she has time magic. That's going to, I feel like that's going to be key to figuring out who she is, especially because that changes who she is for her swarm. So that's going to be fun. But all in all, I do feel like I have a more solid footing with this than with TNS. With TNS, I actually do have a lot of solid stuff going on, but it's the working through it part. And TNS is so very long as well that it's difficult. And I feel like some of that length can be cut because TNS was written to be the first book in B-Punk, the series that I'm working on right now. Or the universe anyway. It's like, this is like a not funny Discworld wherein there are multiple storylines within one universe. But TNS was written to be the first, and consequently I was doing a lot of exposition, but I'm kind of breaking some bits of exposition off and giving it to the other books that I have in mind, which are Beastlingers and Bohemia. So hopefully by the end of maybe if I don't have TNS be the debut, it'll be fine. But anyway, to the chat, Cryptic says this morning is going to be dishes and laundry time for me. Might have to leave early to shower and do stuff outside the house, but it's nice to be able to drop in. Totally. Do what you need to do, for sure. Cryptic says, yeah, massive battles are so hard for me too. There's a flow to them that's just so difficult to hit. Exactly. And especially in words, because like you only have so many words to describe everything, and too much description can be tiring for a reader, and too much chaos is going to be confusing no matter which way you cut it. But Cryptic says, also says, I love villains like that. Absolutely. Like, personally, I still love villains wherein you can understand their motivations. I don't know if, well, I'm a capitalist and this is how the world works is super understandable, but people like that also exist? So maybe. Like, that's what a business major is. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, 20 more minutes are on the clock. I'm going to shut up and continue onward. Good luck, everybody. All right, that is the second sprint. How did we do? This is actually a little bit longer than I thought it would be. It's 379 words, so far, it's 440 plus 379. I should actually keep track of this. 819, let me track bear that. Anyway, yeah, it's a little bit longer than I thought it would be. Cryptic says, dishes are done and I've started folding the laundry. Excellent. It's a little, this scene is a little bit longer than I was anticipating, but we are almost done, I promise. It's just one tiny bit of a conversation left, and then we can dive into the next lengthy conversation. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll be able to get to that. Get to that soon. But let's see, how are we doing, by the way, in terms of goals? We are at 43,286 words altogether so far. I get the feeling that, let's see, if that scene so far is 819 words, we might be crossing the line into 45,000 by the end of the day, maybe? Or at least by the end of the novel. So fingers crossed. We're going to see how far we get because it is already 11 o'clock. I do want to spend some time outside. I might even finish up at least this chapter and then do the epilogue while I'm out and about. But we'll see. Until then. So I have to admit that part of I am very tired, so I am working a little bit slower than I probably should. But on top of that, I also glanced at Discord because there's this one Discord server that I'm in that I don't really talk on all that often because I'm terrible at Discord. And now and then they ping everyone in this server for new opportunities. So I was looking at that, and then I was looking at different channels, and I come across a report, as it was, or at least a discussion in which this one Blue Sky person that I've been following, kind of sort of following. I don't really follow them religiously, in part because all they do is post ads for their books, and I will get into that in just a moment. But as it turns out, so a lot of fantasy indie, in my opinion, has some of the the more kind of the rougher ones, basically. Not to stereotype, but there are a lot of ones like this. But I've been watching indie spaces for quite some time, even before I started writing myself. Just because, guess what? It turns out that indie books generally are cheaper to buy than trad-pubbed EPUBs. So I would do things like go into now don't hate me for this, but because this was I started doing this 10 years ago or something like that, way back when I was first studying the market for not for writing purposes, but also but because I was a publishing professional, I wanted to keep up with what people were doing and what the industry in general looked like, both sides, the self-pub and the in trad pub. So that meant diving into Amazon, because that's where all the books are being sold. That is even 10 years ago, and even now, that is the premier place to get self-pub books, because not a lot of people are on things like Blue Sky, so it's they're not talking about the evils of Amazon. They are just going where people go to buy books, and unfortunately people go to buy books on Amazon. Anyway, regardless of what we want to say about it, that's just the truth. Anyway, so Amazon will have entire marketplaces full of free books or books for less than $1. They're always going to be like they're usually going to be ebooks, and you can just go in and buy however many you want, and a lot of them are self-pub. So I would have stacks and stacks of self-pub books wherein the covers look a little bit wonky. I'm talking the main character front and center, and it has a particular style, and it kind of looks maybe like there's something that has to do with the actual content of like say it's a book about dragons, there will be a dragon and then the main character, and the main character is always kind of looking at you, and it looks it's hard to describe, but it looks a little bit like a Harlequin romance novel from back in the day, wherein everybody was like oil paintings of ladies in gowns and men with their shirts ripped open. It's that kind of vibe, only it's just not necessarily a romance. It's just generic fantasy, and I feel like that's a good word for it. It's a lot of these covers are generic. Uh, they tell you about the book, but they don't actually tell you about the book. So it'd be like, yeah, here's the main character, here's something that's important to them, and that's it. It's not like a cover that builds any kind of identity. And I say that even though there are, there are definite trends in how covers look. Uh, and things like the cover for Assistant to the Villain and so on are basically a dime a dozen if you actually draw back and look. Or you might have a cover that looks like Game of Thrones, but it's not Game of Thrones. Things like that. Like Light Lark's cover is technically generic, but you look at that and you're like, ah, yes, that is a Light Lark cover. That is a book by Alex Astor. Like the cover that isn't generic that I'm trying to describe uh, is basically building the brand of that book. It's not necessarily super unique. There might be elements that other book covers share, uh, but if you look at that book, you will definitely be like, yeah, that 100%. I know exactly who wrote that book. I know exactly what series that book is. I have a feeling I know what genre that is. Even if you do not see things like the main character or element that's in the book on that cover. Like, if you think about it, Light Lark just barely has any kind of symbolism, but you still recognize that's that's a Light Lark, or that's a part of the Light Lark series, right? Uh, Same thing with like or not Game of Thrones, but Throne of Glass or A Song of Ice and Fire. If you look at not A Song of Ice and Fire, A Court of Thorns and Roses. Oh my god, why do I keep on looping back to the fucking Game of Thrones books? The Game of Thrones books do have their own identity too. But what I'm trying to get at is like something like Court of Thorns and Roses, where you look at that and you're like, yeah, that's a Sarah J. Maas book. It can be put. That book can be not like the first book in the series, but it could be like a random book that Sarah J. Maas has written, placed across the room, and you can be standing like on the other side of the room, and you can look at it, and you can be like, yeah, I can tell that's a fucking Court of Thorns and Roses over there. So that's what a good book cover is. That's what a non-generic book cover is supposed to be like. Something that gives a book an identity, a unique identity. But unfortunately, a lot of indie books, indie fantasy especially, they kind of go the like pulpy romance 90s. Not saying that pulpy romance isn't fun. Like, there's a reason why it's a massive genre. And I admit that I've written, or not written, but read a couple of those books too back in the day whenever I was like a young teenager with a library card. And they were fun. Like, don't remember too many of them, but I do remember like some interesting ideas going on in a lot of them. And, but a lot of indie books kind of take cues from that in a way that doesn't necessarily give them a unique identity. That gives their book a unique identity, and that is the main thing that I'm trying to get at. So this author has a lot of fantasy books in that with those kinds of covers where it's sort of like you take a look at that cover and it could be any cover from like an indie author just getting started, or like it's just one of thousands of generic urban fantasy covers that you've seen on Amazon. It, but I had learned recently, so I hadn't thought too much about her, especially because she doesn't interact with me all that often, and the only thing I see are just like ad posts from her. That is also something that I really should address, like, but there's not enough time. There are only 3 minutes. The entire point is the post that was made to the Discord server. I pointed out that's AI. I was like, fuck. And like it was a convincing argument, and I started looking at it. And once I got past like this is a generic MC, and generic looking fantasy novel, I was like, fuck, those are really weird looking hands, aren't they? And now that I look at it, this is Uncanny Valley style of MC portrait, isn't it? And I'm like, fuck, when did this person start publishing? Because if it was after the advent of AI, damn. And it's like, yeah, like I cannot stand those kinds of covers anyway. Like, Cryptic says, never judge a book by its cover is fine and all, but they should still have a unique identity. Exactly. The problem with those covers is, to me, they signal that what I'm about to read is very generic. Every single book that I've read that had that kind of cover on it, where it's just like the main character staring super intensely at you. It's usually a female main character staring intensely at you as magic's all over the place and whatnot. It's like every single one that I've read has been generic fantasy. Like the same plot with different character names, and the character is always going to be this brooding female character who's madly in love with the male character, and so on and so forth. And it's like she is the chosen one, and so on and so forth. And it's just like, there are some books that pull that off, but a lot of them are just like, ugh, cannot care. But yeah, as it turns out, this was so generic it wasn't even created by a human. And I'm a little bit miffed about that. So yeah, I have to go through my Blue Sky, who I'm following in Blue Sky, because like I have 1,000 followers, and usually the way that this works is, or the way that I operate is that if you interact with me, I will follow you for a little bit, and if we're cool, if we continue to interact, then I will continue to interact, or I will continue to follow. If you kind of just F off to nowhere, then I accidentally forget about you for a while. And if you never interact, then I'm just going to assume that you just kind of are trying to follow for follow. But this one was from the early days that I was on B-Sky, so like there are a lot of authors back there who are like, they disappeared forever, or they're not exactly people that I actually want to follow. So I need to go through and see who's fucking using AI, because there's a lot of them that I've unfollowed recently. But I am a little bit miffed because, like, you can't escape it. It's everywhere in the publishing sphere, and it sucks. But at least I know I will never actually read all those books that I have had shoved down my throat for God knows how long. Like, okay, we're about to get into the last, or not the last sprint. Will continue on with sprints until I feel comfortable with wrapping things up, probably about noon. But one last thing that I will say, if you join any social media and all you do is advertise your book, I am not interested in what you have to say. I'm sorry. I'm not interested in your book either. You have to actually say something else. You have to be genuine. You have to interact with people. You have to be a person, not just like, hey, here's my book. So it's kind of funny, but like social media advertising, it's more than that. It's more than just here's book, go read book, go buy book. You have to. Nobody wants to be advertised to. So I'm just so done with people who do that. That's all I gotta say. Anyway, I'm going to dive into the next sprint. Good luck, everybody else. All right. See you later, Cryptic. Thanks for dropping in. that is the next sprint. Let me just quickly check. Here we are. 407. Let me record that. Also, hello, Sherry. I got this feeling that we're not actually going to finish this book during this stream, but we will certainly try. That was our first 3 sets of sprints. I'm going to be doing 20-minute sprints every few minutes. Now it's going to be a little bit less structured. I will probably not be spending 15 minutes to get to the next sprint. And we will probably use a single timer for each one. But I do want to get at least to the end of this chapter, and then maybe the epilogue I will write either tomorrow or during a little outing. Either way, it's like we're very close, so I'm delighted. Anyway, Sherry says, well, hello, I stumbled upon you. I have to wreck Phoenix Rises Dragon Soars. It's dark fantasy with a romance subplot, older characters, and illegal magic that injures the wielder. So good. I'm on the 2nd book, and it's even better. Second book arc team. It releases in September. That does sound interesting, so I might give it a shot. Also, hello, how are you? And also, will you be co-writing with us? Sherry says, I had 120 words. That is still pretty good. So, excellent job so far. It's a good start, let's just say. I'm also retrieving something for somebody. Let's see. Boop. And ooh, Sherry says, I'm nearing the end of volume 3 of my Dragon series. That's right, you are working on that. So that is, I am wishing you the best of luck. I am very close to finishing. I am, so the scene that I'm writing is the 2nd scene in the last chapter. The last chapter has 3 scenes, basically tying up 3 different ends. And then there's an epilogue. So, we are basically, like I said, halfway through the 2nd scene, and there's another scene that I need to write, and then the epilogue I also need to write. I'm hoping to get to at least the 3rd and last scene of this chapter, aka the 2nd scene that I have to write, but we'll see. Sorry I went quiet there. I just had to share something with somebody else. Somebody had asked for a document, and I will eventually. Or Kira of the Wind, who you might know from Blue Sky, is compiling notes on people's stuff, and she had asked for the spreadsheet of the 12 elements and the Dawnlit God. So I have a spreadsheet that's basically lists off the 12 elements, the Dawnlit gods, elemental colors, and holy flowers of the Zizun. And hilariously, all of those things except for the elements are unrelated. Everything is related to the elements. It just so happens that because there are 12 elements and therefore 12 definite things in this world, a lot of other stuff is linked to those 12 elements, and there are 12 of a lot of things. So there are 12 Dawnlit gods who each have a different element. And there are 12 holy flowers from the Zizun that are linked to, with each blossom representing a different element. But the Zizun do not believe in the Dawnlit gods. They kind of acknowledge that the gods exist because gods are just a thing in this world that everybody knows kind of exists or can't have the potential to exist. It's very complicated, but the Zizun themselves actually have their own single god. That single god is the first queen, who is a giant queen bee. According to their lore, the first queen designed the world for everybody to live in, like an entire swarm of people to live in. But she created the Zizun specifically in her image to serve as attendants to this world. So that is part of the reason why a lot of people don't particularly care for the Zizun, because they are very alien. That religion informs a lot of their behavior and culture, but it also sets them apart because they are the only real monotheistic culture in this world. Everybody else, even the Shimir, the cat people who worship the Wanderer, understand that the Wanderer is just one of several other gods. They just happen to worship that one in particular and only respect the other 11. But the Zizun don't even believe in the Dawnlit gods to begin with. They kind of acknowledge that they might exist, but they put their full faith in a completely unrelated god who, to any Dawnlit worshipper, would be a minor god. So it's very complicated. The spreadsheet itself is very confusing if you look at it without knowing that part. I tried to leave a footnote in it, but it's very easy to think that, the Zizun worship the Dawnlit. They don't. It just so happens that they also have 12 holy blossoms that also correspond to the elements, as do the Dawnlits. But the 12 flowers are used in a lot of baking, and they each have a traditional flavor, as it were. So basically, to make them more palatable to the Zizun kind of flavor up anything that involves those flowers with a specific flavor. So, for example, a pumpkin flower might actually be pumpkin spice. So, or pumpkin pie flavored, essentially. How did I actually put that? Because right, I have it in front of me. Like, for example, there is a bee balm. There are bee balm baked goods, but they actually taste like Earl Grey. Cornflower is vanilla. Clover is actually honey. But then you have other ones that are pretty self-explanatory. Almond pastries, for example, is almond, or they're almond flavored pastries. Allium, which is wild garlic and onion, or garlicky or I think it is wild garlic, but it's their onion and cream cheese traditional cake flavor. That's the traditional flavor. Poppy is poppy seed flavor stuff. Rose is rose water. But then, of course, you have other wild ones like marigold is lemon and sunflower is pumpkin spice and so on and so forth. Point is, they bake with these flowers because they believe that infuses the magic and holiness of that flower into their baked goods. And they're not wrong. Usually, whatever cakes that they bake with these flowers turn into little vessels of magic for specific elements. For example, if they make a marigold flavored cake or a lemon flavored cake with marigold flowers, marigold to them is associated with the element of fire. So if you eat a marigold flavored cake from the Zizun, then you temporarily have a boost in fire magic. It's kind of fun. It's a weird system, I know, but anyway, that's that. I kind of do want to make an entire series Bible because I talk a lot about world building and stuff, but not in like world building games. And honestly, I should put everything in one place because I kind of feel like I don't necessarily talk enough about my works in progress for people to really understand who's who, what's going on, and so on and so forth. So, I don't know, keep an eye out for that one. But in any case, Sherry says keeping in mind for beta reading. Absolutely. I will admit that I am going to be rewriting parts of this, so it might not be immediate. This is literally just the first / discovery draft. I am going to go through a second draft, add more chapters, rewrite some, so we'll see. Also, she says, what a neat resource, and I love it. Thank you. I enjoy putting together these resources, so I don't know why I've never thought about putting together an actual series Bible, but we'll see. Anyway, like I said, we are going for another round. We are going to go at least until I finish this chapter. So, let me just let that run out, and let me flip over to just a generic 20-minute timer. So 20 minutes are on the clock, and here we go for another round. how did we do? Let's see. 611, and also finally finished that one scene. It took a few sprints, but we're there. Actually, I should have 611. Did I actually? Oh well. Let me actually take another look on this. Boop-a-doop. Page down. Doo-doo-doo. 1849. Plus 252 plus 134 equals. I did not track error one of the sprints. That's great. 1862. 373 words are missing. There we go. There we go. So we're at 2,235 so far, 444 words, 44,702 words so far. So far, so good. There are flies. It's not flies, it's gnats. One of the plants is infected with gnats. It might be fruit flies too. But summer means there are all kinds of bugs out, and there's a couple that have been swarming around in my apartment. Let me just toss something real quick. Oh, yep, that is a fruit fly. Boop. That's more than you needed to know, I'm sure. Anyway. Sherry says 328 with researching and plotting a couple of squirrel moments. Squirrel moments? I'm curious. And Sherry says, nice, thank you. Sherry says, I spent the week battling an ant invasion. Ah, so you understand. Yeah, up here. So it's funny. I should not say this because, like, it sounds gross, but all over the city we have cockroaches. So spring is cockroach season. Where despite your best efforts, despite the amount of poison you lay down, and despite how much you've cleaned meticulously, you will see cockroaches crawling in from the rain. Summer, meanwhile, is gnat and fly season, so you can have absolutely zero produce just laying out. So, for example, if you have a bunch of bananas, don't leave them out because they will end up with some kind of flying insect on them, and it's great. It's fucking fun, absolutely. It is not fucking fun. I hate it here. The plant, meanwhile, I have 2 plants left. Sebastian, so when I first moved in, I used to post and when I first joined Blue Sky, I used to post pictures of this one Christmas cactus named Sebastian. Sebastian is dead, unfortunately. He succumbed to a gnat infestation, so a fungus gnat. I don't know where he got them. I get the sneaking suspicion he had them before I moved here from Queens, but the problem with Queens was that I had a place to put plants outside, and the plants got plenty of water. So I never noticed because Sebastian would be very bushy and very full, and he would bloom every single winter. But then I moved here, which does not have an outdoor space. So I was unable to put him in the sun, essentially, or in ideal light. So consequently, I think the only place that I did have was like a kitchen window which had no insect screen. So I get the feeling that they flew in either A, they hadn't landed on him back in when we were living in Queens, or B, they flew in from the open window. But either way, pretty quickly after moving in, Sebastian started losing branches. And despite my best efforts, despite the usual watering that I'd given him while I was in Queens, he just started dying very quickly. And now he is basically bug food in some landfill, unfortunately. Now after that, like a few months after Sebastian started to decline, my parents gave me another Christmas cactus, and I'm not sure what this is. It has not bloomed ever. It's shaped like a peace lily, but I don't think it is. But anyway, they gave me two plants. Both were thriving for a while until fairly recently, and I get the feeling that the reason why the theory that the gnats came from here is a thing is because fairly recently my dad opened the kitchen window and he didn't put the bug screen up. So there is a detachable bug screen, but you actually have to physically, it's like a not part of the window. It's something that you have to actually stick into the window and then close the window so that it stays. He didn't do that. So all of a sudden I started seeing gnats again after tossing Sebastian and aggressively treating both plants. And on top of that, both plants got repotted. So who knows where they came from. It's either the soil or my dad just not putting the screen in the fucking window. But either way, the peace lily has been struggling because I'm trying to dry her out in order to get rid of the gnats. Hilariously, the Christmas cactus, on the other hand, is a massive survivor. He doesn't seem to be getting any gnats. When I first got him, though, I started noticing that there were weird cuts weird divots getting cut out of the leaves, and then like a few months in I saw a massive caterpillar on him. So he's had caterpillars, he's been in the vicinity of plants with gnats, and yet he's doing just fine. So there's that. I don't remember what got into I think it's just the bugs. So the hilarious thing is that the plant that's sitting right next to me right now has gnats. I haven't seen them in a bit. And the kitchen has fruit flies because it's produce season and it's warm. So I just tossed the last bit of bananas, and I guess the going theory between the parasitic outbreak and all these fucking flies is that I'm going to be eating frozen produce and refrigerated produce from here on out. But yeah, that is the story of my life. There are insects all over this apartment. The only relief I really get is in the winter, and even then, it's like the gnats might. If the gnats make a return, then I don't get a relief then. Go figure. Anyway, Sherry says, "Look, squirrel, I get distracted." Ah, I see. Anyway, like I said, I'm not doing formal. We're getting a little bit looser, faster and looser with our sprints. I have gotten into the second scene. This might actually be the last sprint because have met the daily goal. And technically, I still need to leave a little bit for tomorrow. And the day after. I mean, all week, really, because we have not yet hit the 50,000 word goal. We are at 44,000 so far. We're going to cross into 45,000. And then after that, you know, I still have to leave a little bit left. So, who knows? Uh, it'll depend on how I'm feeling, but it is already past noon and I'm still in my pajamas. I've at least eaten. So there is some bits, but I do actually need to be doing other things today as well. So, I'm just going to run the clock. We're going to do another sprint and we'll see how I feel afterwards. So, that all said, 20 minutes are on the clock. Get ready, get set, here we go. Oh, Sherry says totally going to make it. We shall see. And Sherry also says, my family will be here soon, so I may drop off during the sprint. Totally cool. Thank you for coming either way. Cherry says, good luck, see you soon. Thank you. And hopefully I'll see you the next sprint. Or not sprint, but session. Enjoy the day! that is the 5th sprint done. Let's see. Here we go. 735, Jesus. At least I hope so. I lost track of where I was. That is the downside of Ellipsis. It's a good program, but there's no inline comments, so I can't tell. When I was working with Scrivener, every sprint or so, I would leave a note to myself being like, hey, here's where the last sprint is. But that's not possible with this one. Anyway, I'm going to take a quick little wordless break, finish up my coffee, and actually get dressed for the day. I don't know where I'm going to go. Some of the stuff that I need to do is actually just right in here. But I do at least want to go for a walk and enjoy the day. Maybe write up the epilogue while sitting someplace else. We are about halfway through this one scene. So, yeah. But we have crossed the 45,000 word mark. So, goal complete so far. We'll see how it goes. But I will be right back. thanks for your patience. We're going to go for one more sprint. I know that I said I would be finishing this book during this session, but it's just a lot more to do. Not really a lot more, but more like there's an entire epilogue. And I kind of want to save the epilogue for another day. I didn't realize that chapter 18 would be a little bit chunkier than I anticipated. It is currently 3,200 words, but we are nearing the end of it. So I'm going to finish up just this bit, and yeah. So 20 more minutes are on the clock. Here we go. is technically our last sprint, but I am going to continue onwards after I shut down the session. It's so close that I don't even want to bother with another sprint. And also, nobody's actually here, so yeah. Anyway, where was I? Damn. $598, not bad. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to finish the rest of this chapter on my own, but thank you so much for carrying me this far in a handful of hours, all morning really. But that having been said, there's not going to be a special stream tomorrow, the day after, you know the drill. So Night Rides is going to be our next stream. That is the 29th on a Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. I have no idea what I'll be doing for it because that'll be not too long after I finish actually writing. Like I said, it's just this little bit and then an epilogue to go. So we are so close, guys. But so that'll be that. Then August 1st, there is going to be no tea rights. So no tea rights August 1st. And the reason why I say that is because there's going to be a lot that I'm doing that day. And also, I have decided that once I'm done with this challenge, I'm going to take a break. So, like a very quick break, only about a week or so. So there will be no streams the first week of August. But there might be a stream the 30th and 31st just as a celebration and also to finish up any other words that I like. If I'm not at 50,000 by then, I'm going to finish up then. So, that having been said, again, next Night Rights, we are definitely going to be there. I might be revising or rewriting a chapter of Beastlingers. We'll see. But no stream on the following Saturday. We're going to take a break. That having been said, it is currently 1:15. I really need to go someplace else other than sitting here. I've been sitting here for several hours, just writing. In fact, 3 hours and 30 minutes so far, according to OBS. So I'm going to cut it off here. But thanks again so much for sitting in. I'm so sorry that we weren't able to stream the very last bit. If all goes well, we actually, I know I said tomorrow no stream, but we might do the last bit tomorrow, the epilogue tomorrow, and that'll be the very last, very special stream. We'll see. I'll see how I feel after work tomorrow and whether or not I actually end up writing the epilogue tonight. It's all going to be so much fun, but in any case, thank you again for watching this. We got super close, I promise you. It's just one more chapter after this, technically. But regardless of what's going to go down, keep an eye on jacksdevora.bsky.social in case I do end up streaming the epilogue. But other than that, enjoy your Sunday, whatever you're doing right now, or whatever you're going to be doing after this. I hope to catch you in the next stream. Take care of yourselves, stay hydrated, know that I love you, and I will catch you guys later.